Colombo Chronicles Live. Colombo is on their trail. Listen up at Colombo Chronicles Live.
Yes, listen up, because now we're going to enter into the world of authors and experts. And tonight we do have an author and an expert and a researcher, and he's going to talk to us about psychopaths and sociopaths, and also about the government. And his name is Stefan Verstappen. So let's get started, and let's welcome Stefan to Colombo Chronicles Live. Hi, Stefan. How are you this evening?
I'm hanging in there. How are you doing, Rose?
I'm doing great. I'm a little bit concerned about what's happening around the world and in our country, but, we have to stay positive and put out positive thoughts. But I've never seen any times in my lifetime like we are being challenged today with so much evil and so many evil people who appear to be anti-American, anti-Constitution, anti-sovereignty. I mean, it just goes on and on. So it is rather disturbing to know that we have people in public office who actually have disdain for the American people and our country just because maybe they belong to a certain church or a certain group of people, a political party, and they just don't have any class, I should say, any class or any morals or principles or values left to treat people as human beings and with respect. They're just spewing out all this hate. So I'm very interested in your topic because some of the people that appear to be getting positions of power, Stefan, appear to be psychopaths or sociopaths. So why don't you tell us what is a psychopath versus a sociopath?
Well, those two terms are almost interchangeable. There's different interpretations depending on when in history you research the meaning. I mean, the DMSV, the Diagnostics and the Statistics Manual for the psychiatric industry seems to change every time they renew it. So at one time they thought that a sociopath would be like, the career criminal. He's the guy with the swastika tattoo between his eyebrows, the one that uses violence and intimidation to get what he wants, violence, armed robbery, muggings, and basically lives a life of crime. And so originally that's what they called a sociopath, and then a psychopath was somebody that was like a sociopath in that they do not have empathy or the ability to feel or have any morals, but that weren't necessarily being violent and aggressive. And then recently, I don't know when, it seemed to have switched around again, and now psychopaths are the face tattoo criminal, and sociopaths are the CEO in a business suit. But to be honest with you, it's nitpicking, it's splitting hairs. It doesn't really matter, and I have no faith in the DSMV anyways, because psychiatry or psychology is not a science, and I don't think they've managed to get too many things right anyways. So, excuse me. So to go back and forth, what's the difference? It doesn't matter what the difference is. They're both the same creature. They are people that don't have a soul. They are people that don't have a conscience. They are people that don't have empathy or sympathy. They are people that are motivated purely by selfish greed and desire and have no obedience to anything greater than themselves or any sort of abstract morality. So the difference then between sociopath and psychopath is the difference in personality type, really. They all have, different personalities, just like we all do. Some of us like Chinese food, some of us like rom-com movies and so on. No, so it's the same thing with these people. Some of them like to beat people up. Some of them like to torture little children. Some of them like to go into politics. But it doesn't matter what they're... And usually they're the same people. Yeah.
Yeah, you just mentioned something that just kind of struck a nerve because you said politics and then some of them like to torture children. Well, some of them are politicians.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
No, that's absolutely right, yeah. So it doesn't matter what label we put on them. I mean, we could even call them interdimensional demonic entities, Fine, it's a label. But if you examine...
But it's a very dangerous label, too, because they don't have a conscience.
Well, the label...
There's no remorse.
Again, it's a word. It's the people that are dangerous, absolutely. And they are very dangerous and destructive and incurable. You can never teach them to love or care or anything like that. And what you mentioned earlier, that there's people that they don't like America. Well, it's not just that America they don't like. They don't like anything that's not evil and degrading and cheap and exploitive. They hate America, but they hate any country. They hate people. They hate life. They hate beauty. They hate kindness. They hate love. They hate all of that stuff. So it's not, these people are just hating America. No, they're psychopaths. When they're psychopaths, they hate everything and everyone.
Well, I noticed that, when we look at Hillary Clinton and she's speaking, she has just disdain for just about everybody and everything, and she blames everybody and everything, but never looks at herself or criticizes herself or takes the blame for anything. And then you look at Obama, he did the very same thing. He blamed everybody, and then he was very, very upset if anybody criticized him. And then some of them we didn't see again or hear from again if they did criticize him while he was in office. So, but they kind of fit that personality if you listen to their speeches and watch their behaviors, because some psychiatrists and psychologists actually wrote papers on them saying that they were sociopaths. Isn't that interesting? Well, and even though they never met them.
Well, yeah, but they are. We know now, we've seen enough from history, and we know enough about human behavior. And if you know enough about human dynamics, you will realize that every president that you have had for the last 100 years has been a psychopath. No exceptions. Maybe JFK. Maybe JFK was an exception. I don't know, because they did kill him. But it doesn't mean he wasn't a psychopath. Maybe he was just a psychopath that was fighting with the other psychopaths. You do not get into Congress without being a psychopath. You do not become president of a country or prime minister of a country without being a psychopath. That's just the way it is. It's a system that is designed to filter out anyone with a conscience. Honest, hardworking, decent people will never get into politics. First of all, most of them don't want to. I'm the perfect example. I have no interest, never have I had in my life any interest in positions of power. I don't want to tell people what to do. I don't want to give anybody orders. I don't want nobody kissing my feet. I hate that stuff. I don't need it. I don't want it. These people need it and want it. And so they set up this system that attracts the worst of humanity, because the system is a hierarchical structure. It's a pyramid structure. And when you get to the top of that pyramid, you have a lot of power. And that power is like a dangling lure for every psychopath in the country to fight with each other to reach that pinnacle, to get to the top of that pyramid so that they can then rule everyone else and give orders and have everybody kiss their boots, because that's what they want. And so that system will make sure, first of all, honest people aren't interested in that, so they're not even going to apply. But even, let's say you had some naive, Mr. Smith goes to Washington, right? I don't know if anybody's familiar with that old movie from the 1940s, I believe it was.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a great
movie.
Yeah, with, what's his name? I liked him as an actor.
Jimmy Stewart, I think.
Jimmy Stewart, yeah, he was so charming in that movie. So, yeah, watch it. It's an old 1930s, 1940s movie. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And it's an excellent example of how, some honest, farm-fed, fresh-faced boy goes to Washington, and he's all under the delusion that, we're going to do good for the people and things like that. All he wanted to do was save Boy Scout camp, right? That was his whole point of going there. He wanted these Boy Scouts to still have a camp. And in the movie, it's a happy ending, but in real life, there is no happy ending, because what they'll do is they'll drum you out. They will eat you up. Anybody that is foolish enough to go into politics thinking you're going to do good, you will be destroyed. You'll be destroyed very early on, so you'll never advance anywhere. And the only people that will advance are these pedophiles, these cannibals, these serial killers, because that's what they are. They're worse than serial killers because they're serial mass murderers. We know we have serial killers and then we have mass murderers. But you never hear the term serial mass murderer, somebody who kills lots of people at a time over and over again. Well, that's your government. So, and it's run and it attracts these types of people. And I know it's really negative, but look, they're only a minority. Most of us, if only 10% of the population had a bit of a backbone and stood up to them, these people would be gone. Problem is, just like with the first revolution, the Revolutionary War, it's only like 2% of the people that actually, picked up a musket and fought the British. Everybody else just sat home watching their TV going, well, I wonder who's going to win. And that's the problem we have today. We got 98% of the people sitting on their fat butts in front of the goddamn TV set or zombified by their ridiculous cell phones. And they're all just sitting around as they march towards totalitarianism and absolute slavery, by the way. Your freedoms are disappearing fast, and nobody notices, and we can't even get 2% of the people to pick up a musket anymore, let alone just open their mouths and speak out against it. If we could get 10%, great. So until that happens, these psychopaths are going to rule us, and they are going to, where this is going, Rose, you don't want to know.
Well, actually, the bottom line is that they've used the movies, they've used Hollywood, they're in bed with the government, they've used the liberal part of it, they've used movies, they've used videos, they've used cell phones, they've used video games, they've used porno online, and all of these programs they've used to mesmerize people and get them to be addicted to these programs, these reality shows that are so gross and horrible, where they have, like, to me at least, they have a dating game, and they have one girl who's dating 12 different guys and kissing them, like, in front of the whole world, like she's, married to them, and, and then sending them off to a bedroom and stuff. And I mean, the morals and the way they're using young people, and young people are excited. They think, great, television, I'm going to be on TV, I'm going to be a star. But they don't see the bottom line of the evil that is really being pushed by the evil ones, because they're using these young people to what used to be, 30 years ago, used to be X-rated movies that only certain people went to see at specific theaters, and you would never have seen anything like that on television ever, nor would you see young people behaving that way or their parents allowing them to be used by a TV producer that way, or even little children that are being used as sex objects in those competitions. And we all remember Jean Benet and what happened to her. So, I mean, I blame we the people as well. Don't you?
Yeah, it's we the people. Yes and no. It's what comes first, the horse or the carriage? You see, because we the people, for the current generation and the one previous, and starting with the baby boomers, and I'm just on the tail end of the baby boomers. They're responsible for the mess we're in because they didn't stop it at its early stages. But it's not their fault. You see, we've been under the control of psychopathic minds for over 150 years. What has happened is that we are born and raised in lies and illusions. We are fed poison from the minute we leave the womb. Everything around you is a poison. The TV, the movies, the magazines, the educational system, the music, the literature, the art, all of it has been designed for a long time now, because when you read the books that these people wrote back in the 1890s and 1920s and 1930s, they laid it all out. We know, for example, that the education system is based on the Prussian model, and the Prussian model's goal was specifically stated to make obedient factory workers. I mean, that was the point of education. It was mind control already going back to the 1880s. That's what they wanted to do. And that's why it's been instituted. That's why we pay taxes for public schools. There's no such thing as education. It's not about knowledge. It's not about the intellect. It's about producing factory workers and soldiers. And now it's morphed a little bit since the Prussian days, and now education is about producing brainless consumers that will believe everything they see so long as it appears on a screen, and they've been wildly successful. And why wouldn't you? If you took a young child and you forced them to live with a pedophile from an early age, and they spent 12 years, 8 hours a day being indoctrinated by this pedophile, when they come out, they would think that pedophilia was normal. And you can't blame the child for that, because he had 12 years of mind-numbing indoctrination designed to destroy his soul and his spirit and his moral compass. And when he comes out, he's a pedophile. He might even be a serial killer or a murderer. It's not his fault. It's not his fault.
No, I agree. It's not his fault, but it is the fault of the adults who are putting their children into these positions as sex objects on television, knowing that there is an international pedophile ring out there, and that it goes all the way from the average person all the way to the steps of the White House and to other leaders around the world and wealthy people, all the way to Orgy Island involving NAMBLA, Pizzagate, Franklin cover-up, Senator Nancy Schaefer's report, skating report, only she was murdered under suspicious circumstances, died under suspicious circumstances, along with many, many other reporters who tried to save the children by exposing this problem. But the problem is so huge, and the people that are involved, in my opinion, are sociopaths, and so therefore, and in positions of power like they're coaches and teachers, and they're anywhere where children are, or they're wealthy enough to have children brought to them, or they work in juvenile halls or whatever. Not saying all people, of course, who work in those positions, but heaven knows there's enough of them, because we get enough reports in the news that these things have been going on for years, only they don't get caught. And so we have over 100,000 children a year missing and never found. And so it just seems that you really would have to be a sociopath to be doing something that horrific, like kidnapping children and molesting them and maybe worse. So I don't know how we save the children when sociopaths are running the world.
Yeah, that's the problem, And what I found, and in my first video that I did on psychopathy, which was called, or psychopathy, which is called Defense Against the Psychopath, if anybody wants to see it on YouTube, it gives you an encapsulated understanding of the whole subject, as brief and as detailed as that can be without going into too much detail, but it's what you need to know to start to protect yourself. But what I didn't include in that video 8 years ago, which I now come to see as another facet of psychopathy, is that they tend to be pedophiles. I mean, it's bad enough that they're thieves and compulsive liars and exploiters and manipulators and murderers. But the other characteristic that I discovered, or I'm discovering, is that a lot of them, probably the majority of them, are also pedophiles. And they're pedophiles because, again, it's for people that don't know the subject and haven't met these people, and even when you meet them, you won't spot this, right? You have to read the trial transcripts of what these people do in the privacy, right? And then when you read the horror these people, inflict on children, it's unbelievable. But then, they have crime scene photographs. So it's so far out of our world of understanding what these people are like. And that is part of their power, because you just don't believe people can do that stuff. You can't believe that, Bill Clinton gets on a private jet with Mr. Epstein and flies to an island that this guy owns, where they bus in or they fly in underage children to be sodomized by these people. I mean, who can believe that? But the trouble is, it is the truth. It is. We got to face it. When the average person is faced with this kind of horror, they want to turn away because it's just a little bit overwhelming. And so we turn away by denying that this can happen. And by denying that this can happen, these people have a cloak of invisibility. They know that we're not going to call them on it, because to call them on it is so horrific to our own personal psyches that we refuse to accept it. But this is what they are. The evidence is overwhelming, time and time again, from Wiener sexting, and how come this guy isn't locked up? Oh my God, he's a senator, and he's sending naked pictures that are all over the internet of his penis, for God's sake. And the guy still goes into work. People still listen to what he has to say. He's giving orders. I mean, but because our whole world now is a psychopathic environment. And it's really bad, Rose. It's really bad.
Well, I think that fear plays a big part in it, because, whenever they're, like I said, an investigative reporter investigates anything or reports on it or has any knowledge, they suddenly disappear, and or they're found under suspicious circumstances to have shot themselves in the back twice, placed a plastic bag over their head, and walked into the forest and laid down and died without any dirt on their shoes. So I mean, it's like the stories are so unbelievable, but yet people do not question them because they fear being the next victim, perhaps.
And they have every reason to fear being the next victim, because these people are ruthless. They would just as soon, slit your throat as step on an ant. It means nothing to them. As a matter of fact, they would prefer to slit your throat, because the other thing about psychopaths is that there is a sexual arousement when they destroy people. They get turned on by ruining people's lives. They love that stuff. If they can,
they thrive on it.
They thrive on it. But, when you don't...
I saw it in the court, Stefan. I saw it in the court system. And I was an advocate for justice. I still am, for 25 years. And I helped a lot of people around this country save their homes, their children, their sanity from committing suicide. I can't tell you all the victims I've helped. And, from scientists to a judge who hit the news. I saved her seat on the bench. I could go on and on to people, business people, average people, nice people who got caught up in the legal system, because the legal system doesn't care if you're a judge, if you're in their way, or a lawyer. If you're going to buck them, they're coming after you, That's how ruthless they are. And so I saw everything firsthand, and I saw the look in their eyes, and I can tell you that their eyes are blank. They have no feelings, no matter what they do to people, whether it's cruel and unusual punishment, prejudice, bias against somebody, or just plain taking a bribe. They have no remorse, and they don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And and here's the problem. Like, they've been ruling the world for a long, long time now, and that's why everything, like you said earlier, what they're doing with the pornography and this and that, that's all done on purpose. It's all done on purpose to destroy the human spirit, to destroy beauty, to destroy nobility. You know what I mean? The noble spirit of a person that is honest and decent and helps people and does what you did. They hate that stuff. So they want to destroy it. They want to destroy lives. So they invented feminism to destroy the family. They invented the monetary system, and then artificial scarcity. Because, to be honest with you, there's no reason why any of us would have to work more than 10 hours a week to provide for all of our needs and a nice house in the suburbs or whatever the hell you want. 10 hours a week should be more than enough to provide all of that. But they've induced artificial scarcity through the monetary system, through their control of the markets. And so now everybody has to work 80 hours a week to have anything. And now it's getting worse and worse. Like they're talking about the economy, this, that. Look, I can see the economy. I can tell by the amount of homeless people, by the amount of people that are out of work, that are living with their parents. And so don't tell me anything about economic recovery when I can go to any city in the United States and I go to the nearest river or the nearest park and I'll find 5,000 people living in cardboard boxes there. So don't tell me nothing about economic recovery. This is the reality. And then, but they have billions of dollars to go bomb Syria. But there's probably 1 million, 2 million people, and, living in sewers, living in cardboard boxes, and these are the people that just fell through the grate, and there's millions more that are living human existences, struggling to put food on the table. They might not be homeless, but they're by no means happy or able to do anything with their lives other than work like a
because most Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And so the people who are in public office for the past 30 years are totally out of touch with the American people, the real people. They care less because they've gotten so greedy, and their egos, because it's the same people who have been in office for 20, 30, 40 years now. And they're the same people who are running the country. And they're the same people who today are telling us we're going to take you to FEMA camps. The news lady just got through saying we're going to keep these people here, the victims of the hurricanes. We're going to keep them here until they get reprogrammed for the New World Order. Then they'll be released. She said that on television. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you just got to saying you're going to reprogram these people and you won't release them, so they're indefinitely detained, which is a presidential order I read back in 2009, posted it online to make people aware, but people, like you said, don't bother to read this stuff or get involved because it's too much for their minds, and they'd rather watch a football game.
Yeah, they'd rather watch a football game. And,
so I knew all this was coming because I've been doing research for many years, and I knew about the corruption in the court system, which all works together, because, Stefan, the whole country is run by the lawyers. The whole country is run by the ABA, the lawyers, and the medical profession and the military complex. So here we are, going to FEMA camps.
Yeah. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. If you want to know where we're headed, read Solzhenitsyn's The Gulag Archipelago, where he describes his experience in a Russian gulag. And one paragraph always stands out for me, and where he says how we burned in the camps, meaning the gulags, when we think back at the times when the secret police came to pick us up in the middle of the night, if only we had met them at the door with axe handles and broomsticks or anything to fight them off, but we all just willingly went along with the secret police, and now we are in this gulag. And the horrors of the Soviet regime, it's Nazis times 10, right? That's what's waiting for us.
And the thing is that, in my opinion, the microchip is no different than the tattoo from the Nazi days. The microchip is worse because they're using human beings as a guinea pig, insulting them with a lithium computer chip, turning them into robotoids and thoughtless people to be controlled by a handful of people, and so that the Americans can no longer think for themselves. They have no freedom, no rights. They're spied upon and tracked 24/7. So all this bull about, we're going to take care of the disabled people and the people with dementia. Well, they've been causing dementia because of the chemtrails and the aluminum. They're dumping on the American people for years and years, and all the chemicals in the food, in the soil. And, so who are they kidding? This is all created by design to create dementia and Alzheimer's, because now Alzheimer's is one of the top 10 reasons people are dying in America. So none of this happened by chance. No, those chemtrails were not here when I was growing up. And I kept telling people and that they were chemtrails, not contrails, back in 2008 when, computer got more popular and stuff, and with social media. And you should see how people were so angry at me for making such a statement. They said, we don't believe the government would do that. They did. They said they didn't believe our government would do that. I said, well, you better think again.
Yeah. Well,
not only will they do that, they're going to do worse.
If they can, they'll go as far as they can, and they will go
because
there.
The American people won't get off the couch. We need like 30 million Americans to get together with the sheriffs and the marshal, march on D.C. and tell them to all leave. The sheriffs need to do that, and we'll be the witnesses, which is legal, peaceful, and constitutional, like the Egyptians did, like they did in Iceland. That's our constitutional right to tell them we don't want you any longer to be our representatives. Bye-bye. You're fired.
Yes. Trouble is, that's never going to happen, Rose.
I know it's never going to happen. If it's going to happen, it would have happened when Obama was
it would have happened in 1913.
He was a prominent lawyer and born in Kenya and Hawaii at the same time. And he had a Kenyan and a U.S. birth certificate. He had a foreign and a U.S. passport. He had two names. I mean, people didn't get that. Hello. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there you go. People don't even listen to words.
To who?
They don't listen to their words.
No, it's just platitudes and slogans. It's marketing 101.
But they mean something. They mean something. Like when Obama said, I caught it. Obama said, we are no longer a Christian nation. Hello, he should have been stopped right there. Congress is meaningless, and so is the Constitution. I don't need it. I'm going to rule by an executive order. Boom, he should have been impeached.
Which is unconstitutional.
He can't produce a birth certificate, a certified birth certificate. And the sheriffs and the forensic experts and all of them, and Congress didn't care. I mean, come on. I mean, seriously. They did a big, they pulled a big fast one on the American people because the American people weren't listening to his words.
Yeah, but the American people aren't capable of comprehending things because they've been indoctrinated from 12 years of government education, and then God forbid they ended up going into debt for another $90,000 to be further indoctrinated in the most useless enterprise you could ever enter into, and that is college. So, you're talking about people that never had a chance, from from the day they were born, they started the indoctrination process, and their souls and their ability to reason and perceive and comprehend and logic and reason and all of that was wiped out a long time ago. So there will be no, I hate to be this negative, but I'm just stating the truth, because to be honest with you, Rose, you and me and maybe, another 100,000 people in the United States know enough to know what's going on. But we are such a small minority, 0.0001% of the population, that have any clue to what's going on. And I'm speaking to those people. I'm speaking to you, Rose, and I'm speaking to those people. I'm going to be real. I want to kind of hope and believe that maybe something can, rile up the American people. But no, they're going to march to their doom gleefully. And I know this because it's written throughout history. When I wrote my first book, The 36 Strategies of Ancient China, I did a lot of research, and especially research on military history. And that's when I first started to investigate psychopathy, because I read the dynastic histories of England and France and Germany and the Romans and the ancient Greeks and the Egyptians, and because I love history anyways. I'm very fascinated by the subject. And the microchip is just the latest incarnation. They had slaves, and they branded the slaves, and then the Nazis tattooed their workers, and now they want to implant us with a chip. Because this is the psychopathic mindset. They always follow the same playbook, because they are crazy. They are evil incarnate. There's no other way to describe it. Now, when you say evil, now we're into a religious and rather than a scientific paradigm, but I'm sorry, there's no other word to describe it. They're evil. They hate everything that's good and healthy and noble. And so where they go is always the same place. Do you think the gulags were invented by the Russians? The gulags have been around for thousands of years. The Romans called them the salt mines, The British were the first ones to invent concentration camps. They rounded up the Dutch and German Boers in South Africa, and where they gang raped the women. I mean, this stuff has been going on. And the great Winston Churchill was the leading proponent of concentration camps, and he encouraged the rape of women. Another big psychopath. Churchill. They all were. Stalin, Churchill, Roosevelt, Jesus, Murphy. They were all a bunch of psychopaths. Hitler was a bad guy, okay, but were the other guys any better? No, they weren't. They were all... No. Stalin was worse. Mao was worse, Look at the Pol Pot, Look at all of them. That's always what they do, They want to control what you think. They want to control what you feel, what you believe, and they will... they will torture you. They will, when you read the stories of what they did in Chile and Argentina in the 70s to these government rebels and things like that. Oh my God! People don't have any idea. You don't want to know.
I think people would have to imagine, that they have to imagine that somebody that actually gets excited and thrives and loves to watch people be tortured and in pain, and whether it's man, woman, or child, like ISIS, they don't care. They'll stomp on you, they'll slice you in half, they'll crucify you, they'll sell you to gang rape you, and do all horrible things to human beings. And it's as if the devil has possessed them, and they have sold their souls to the devil. And I don't care if people believe in it or not. I know for a fact that there's a heaven and there's a hell, and that's why we were given a free will upon this earth and a free choice, and that's what the government wants to take away, is the thought process and a free will and free choice, so that you are nothing more than a robotoid just marching to their drumbeat for their sexual probably use of young people, and as they transform boys to girls, girls to boys, they're killing 1 million of future Americans every single year by abortion, stabbing them in the head, and we're a civilized nation?
Yeah, no.
And we just go, oh, well, it's just an abortion. How would you like to be stabbed in the head?
Yeah.
It's a baby.
And they dismember these children, dismember them in their womb. I mean,
for profit and taxes and depopulation. How much more of a sociopath can you be?
Yeah, and then look at the videotapes where they're at these conferences and they're negotiating and bargaining about the cost of the fetal tissue, and lungs go for $100 a pop, and a kidney will go, and I mean,
And they have guillotines, Stefan. They actually have guillotines, and do you know why they had the guillotines? Because they were going to do it like with these microchips, where they're telling people, well, it's just for the dogs, and then now it's just for the disabled people. Oh no, they don't plan just to insert them into the disabled people. In my opinion, they want to insert them into everybody except themselves. Then you go over to the guillotines, and the reasoning behind the guillotines was to start off with the prisoners. So they would tell the prisoners, you can do something very beneficial for mankind. We can chop your head off with the guillotine, and we can donate all your healthy organs to science.
Yeah. We only have a few minutes left, and so what I want to say something positive at the end of this. Is that okay?
I think it's all positive because it's very informative, and people need to wake up and realize that this is the reality. They're watching reality shows on TV that aren't real. This is reality, and they need to protect their families and their children. Yeah.
Well, I think your radio listeners are pretty awake. They wouldn't be tuning into you if they were completely numb to what's going on around them. So let's talk about them, because the solution isn't going to be coming around anytime soon. There's too many people that are perfectly happy to sell their souls. So for those of us that are listening, get ready. Get yourself ready. Get prepped. Prepping is good. You can get my book, The Art of Urban Survival, which talks about psychopaths, but most of the book is on crime prevention, disaster and emergency preparedness, and what to do in times of war and corruption and martial law, because all that's coming, right? All of that's coming.
Yeah.
So for those of us who are awake... Yeah. I mean, I don't see any way of stemming the course of history. It's going to play out the way it's always played out, which is, total collapse and chaos and horror and bloodshed. So, but there's still some of us
You said positive here. Where's the positive side?
The positive is we still have a little bit of time, and if we get ready and we're smart and we get prepared and we learn some skills and we keep our heads down, then when it comes, we will survive. And the vast majority of these people are going to be dead. All these people that are just going along with the government thinking that, so long as I don't acknowledge the evil, it will leave me alone, they are sadly mistaken. They're the first to go. So, keep your heads, keep your eyes open, your head down, get prepped, food, gold, guns. Try to get some people around you that think like you and form micro communities, 2-3 people that understand what's going to go on, what's happening and what's going to happen, and that we have a plan, like I come to your house, we'll stay there, or you come to my house, you stay here. Make plans with, the few people that you can find that are a little bit awake. And then the only hope for the future is that your listeners can survive what's coming, because they then can build a new society. And hopefully we can build it so that we don't make that we have a decent and peaceful world for another couple of 100 years before history again turns us to this period.
Thank you so much, Stefan, for stopping for all your invaluable information, and I hope people will check out your books. And where can they find your books? ChinaStrategies.com. All my books are available there, and they're $5 cheaper than if you were to buy them from Amazon. But you can go to Amazon and get all my books there. I've got my latest one is The Way of the Warrior,
which is meant to give you the tools to teach yourself how to be tough and strong and aware, and how to feed your mind and your heart and your body. And so that
great.
gives you a better chance to survive,
Thank you so much, Stefan, and we'll do it
Thanks,
again,
Rose.
and God bless you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Rose.
Bye-bye.
You have a good night. Bye-bye.
You too. And Stefan has left the building, and I have to say, God bless you, God bless America, wake up America, and be ready.
Rose Colombo is signing off, and she's left the building. Be sure to bookmark and share Colombo Chronicles Live every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. on the West Coast. Or if you're sleepless in the big city, that would be 11 to midnight on the East Coast. Rose Colombo says, remember, you're never alone when you tune in every Wednesday to Colombo Chronicles.